You're scheduled for Flight 237 to Cloudopolis, the gate pixie squeaked, sliding a clipboard across a counter made of laminated toadstools. Full load, 9 goblins, 2 merfolk in portable aquariums, 1 baby dragon traveling as an emotional support reptile, and an entire rugby team of brownies who booked the cheap seats with no leg room, which, given their brownies, means no torso room. Either good luck, Fizzleflit, Thistlewing Fizz to co-workers, hey you with the wings, to irate passengers, straightened her cranberry red neckerchief and mustered a professional smile. She was 5 inches tall, sported iridescent wings the shape of oak leaves, and had devoted her life to 2 ideals: the majesty of flight and an employee discount on duty-free honey-dew. Unfortunately, she worked for Sprout Air, the only carrier where passengers could purchase standing room only. Tariffs for half price, and the cabin lights were powered by volunteers on stationary bicycles. Budget airline or not, Fizz took the job seriously. Safety first, whimsy second, in-flight sales quota a close third. Today's challenge was the new 1 wing per passenger carry-on policy. According to corporate, a pair of wings counted as 2 items, one too many, unless customers paid the hefty supplementary fee. In practice, it meant that fairies, imps, or anyone with naturally sprouting airfoils were required to fold, roll, or otherwise compress 1 wing before boarding. Failure to do so triggered a baggage surcharge substantial enough to bankrupt entire mushroom villages. At Gate Dandelion 7, the boarding line was already a knot of grievances. A harried wood nymph clutched her toddler, whose sapling-thin wings were still budding. But he only has half a wing. Does that count as 1 full item or half an item? Fizz consulted the rulebook, a scroll so long it got tangled around her ankles. Ma'am, Sprout Air doesn't do fractions. It's 1 item if it flaps, no matter the size. Might I suggest taping it down? Complimentary strips of bark are available for purchase. 2 brownies attempted the same loophole from opposite angles. Brownie A, traveling wingless, argued he deserved to bring an extra satchel since he possessed negative wings. Brownie B tried to rent out the unused negative wing space for profit. The resulting philosophical debate threatened to delay departure until someone produced a chalkboard and began drawing negative integers. Fizz intervened by offering half-price coupons for the onboard beans of unusual properties, which she knew would distract them. Nothing enticed a brownie like free snacks, even if the snack in question occasionally sprouted vines. The baby dragon, meanwhile, was undergoing an emotional support certification exam right at the gate. A representative from the Department of Mythical Accommodations asked, "Does the animal alleviate your anxiety, sir?" The owner, a willowy elf with dark-rimmed glasses, nodded while holding out an arm freshly singed. "Absolutely. If I'm nervous, Pyro just scorches away the fear literally." Fizz kindly relocated them to the back row near the fireproof bulkhead constructed of asbestos mushrooms, then floated to first class, which, on Sprout Air, amounted to burlap seats instead of burlap benches. She greeted a pair of ogres who had splurged on the upgrade because it included free delousing. "Welcome aboard, esteemed travelers," she chirped. "If you require additional delousing powder, it is available. A la carte, 2 gold coins per sprinkle, 3 coins if applied with a smile." Once passengers were crammed, folded, or lovingly stuffed into overhead fungus bins, Fizz fluttered to the front for the pre-fleet demonstration. Budget regulations required she deliver it without magic enhancements, pixie dust cost extra, and the bean counters monitored usage as though it were black truffle. She grabbed the plastic replica leaflet. "Ladies, gentle beasts, and intangible spirit forms, tethered to seat 12B, she began, voice amplified by a seashell amplifier. "Welcome to Sprout Air, where our motto is if it hops, it stops eventually. Please direct your attention to the safety parchment. In the unlikely event of a water landing, merfolk are asked to volunteer as flotation devices. Should cabin pressure change, herbal oxygen masks will drop. Inhale deeply, note the calming thyme aroma, and pretend you never read the Yelp reviews. And if you are seated in an emergency row, congratulations, you now work here. Training will be provided post-crisis." While she spoke, the brownies in 14E and 14F struggled to shove a gargantuan picnic basket beneath the seat. The basket rattled ominously. Fizz's sixth sense tingled. "What's in the basket, friends?" "Just some, traveling scones," Brownie E said, face flush. "Scones we intend to train," Brownie F added unhelpfully. Fizz cracked the lid. Inside, 64 disgruntled scones glared, each wearing a tiny helmet and armed with blackberry jam blasters. Siege scones. Technically, they were a restricted species. She sighed, slapped an emotional support pastry sticker on the basket, and declared, "Keep the lid shut. If they form ranks, we turn around." Captain Gravelgut's voice boomed from the conch shell intercom. "This is your captain speaking. Flight time today will be 1 hour, 2 if the updraft over the Beanstalk Mountains is still on strike. We're fourth in line for takeoff behind 3 migrating geese in a flying carpet caravan. Sit tight." The plane, a vintage Bumblebee Liner 200, rattled down the runway like a tin kettle in a hailstorm. Fizz maintained her best, calm, professional face, though her stomach performed cartwheels. She herself could fly rings around any mechanical craft, but the employee handbook insisted attendants remain on board until the plane came to a complete stop. Unless, of course, they purchased early deboarding privileges. At cruising altitude, a bell dinged, the universal signal for release the snacks. Fizz wrestled open the galley cupboard and extracted the sacred burlap sack of peanuts. Only they weren't peanuts. Corporate had rebranded them Arkin beans, magically delicious, mildly unpredictable. Rumors said they were legumes left over from the giant incident of '97, still imbued with residual beanstalk essence. According to marketing, the beans might sprout, might sing, or might transform into interpretive dance clouds. The uncertainty, they claimed, added whimsy. Fizz marched down the aisle, offering the treats. "Arkin bean for you? Arkin bean for you, sir. Please stop licking the overhead bin." She handed a packet to a goblin wearing 3 monocles stacked like pancakes. The goblin ripped it open, flicked a bean into his mouth, and belched a bubble containing his life's regrets. The bubble drifted over seat 9C and popped, causing the centaur there to sob uncontrollably. Fizz supplied tissues at markup. Further back, the merfolk tried a bean, only to find it sprouted fins and swam laps in their aquarium. They applauded. The baby dragon swallowed 2, then hiccuped a beanstalk sapling that tore through the cabin floor, seeking sunlight. "Just prune it before it breaches the fuselage," Fizz advised, passing over garden shears. She charged the elf a pruning fee. Predictably, chaos climaxed in row 14. The brownies had dumped an entire packet into their siege scone basket for seasoning. A thunderous rumble followed. 30 seconds later, a colossal vine erupted, lifting the basket like a gondola toward the cabin ceiling. Siege scones rappelled down, launching jam grenades at anyone in range. Fizz's crisp uniform became a Pollock painting of blackberry purple. She tapped her communication crystal. "Eva, Thespa, and Captain, we've got a beanstalk situation." "Again," Captain Gravelgut answered. "Standard protocol, flight attendant, second class Thistlewing. Standard protocol involve the following: 1. Remain calm. 2. Reassure passengers. And 3. Hack the beanstalk until it's surrendered, or purchase an extra legroom seat." Fizz commandeered a plastic butter knife. Sharp objects were prohibited since the budget cutbacks, and flitted upward, wings beating fast enough to hum. She sliced at tendrils creeping toward the oxygen masks. A goblin protested. "You can't prune a magic plant with plastic." Fizz grinned. "Watch me." She infused the knife with a jolt of her own pixie dust docked from her ration, but emergencies trumped quotas, and carved stylish topiary animals out of the vine. The beanstalk, flattered, paused its rapid growth to admire itself. Passengers actually applauded. Fizz took a bow. That's when the siege scones staged a counteroffensive. They formed a scrum and rolled down the aisle, helmets gleaming. Their jam blasters fired sticky projectiles that glued travelers to seats, walls, one another. Someone's toupee got shellacked to the exit sign. The baby dragon wagged his tail eagerly. To him, jam was fuel. Fizz realized 2 facts simultaneously. A, she owned exactly 0 counter-siege weapons. And B, Sprout Air had just announced a new commission bonus for upselling in-flight merchandise. "Opportunity knocks," she muttered. She seized the service trolley, wheeled it into the aisle, and raised her voice. Ladies and gentle beasts, to defend ourselves, we offer exclusive counter-scone bean bags, basically full bean packets you can hurl at hostile pastries. 5 gold coins each. Sign here. Miraculously, hands, paws, and tentacles reached for coin purses. Within minutes, passengers, newly armed with bean packets, pelted the scones. Each bean that struck a pastry detonated into a puff of oregano, seasoning them into immobility. Siege thwarted. The ogres in first class bought extra packets for private consumption, giving Fizz her best upsell of the month. She floated back to her jump seat to log commissions when a rumble shook the plane. Captain Gravelgut came over the horn. Attention crew, we've hit unexpected turbulence generated by a rogue thundercloud practicing drum solos. Please secure the cabin. Seatbelt lights flickered. Passengers scrambled to buckle in, except the brownies, still jammed to the ceiling by their own ammunition. Fizz shrugged and called it compliance. She made her aisle sweep, reminding everyone to stow stray vines. Suddenly the plane lurched, executed an unscheduled barrel roll, and snapped upright again. The merfolk aquarium sloshed tidal waves. A lone bean escaped its packet, bounced along the aisle, and slid beneath the troll's foot. With a crunch, the bean ruptured, releasing a mini whirlwind that smelled faintly of cumin. The whirlwind zipped through the air vents and out of sight. Fizz updated her incident report. 1 bean hurricane. Spicy. She might as well document. The safety gnomes would ask later. The intercom cracked. Folks, we may need to descend early, Captain Gravelgut said. Instrument panel just sprouted vines. Apparently they want sunlight too. In the cockpit, vines slithered over gauges, pointing dials toward arbitrary constellations. Fizz hurried forward, brandishing her trusty plastic knife. She sliced until she uncovered the altimeter. Numbers spun like a roulette wheel. Captain, permission to deploy sunlight substitute? Gravelgut nodded. Fizz yanked open a locker, extracted a jar labeled Bottled Dawn handle with sunglasses, unscrewed it, and held it before the vines. Enticed, the greenery huddled around the glowing jar. With deft hands, Gravelgut corked the lot and stowed it in the cargo chute, jettisoning unwanted foliage and salvaged scones alike. Back in the cabin, Fizz addressed passengers. Due to botanical overenthusiasm, we'll be making an early landing at Clover Patch Airstrip. Please return seahorses to upright position. The brownies, still ceiling mount, groaned. Can you at least play a movie? Certainly. Fizz clapped twice. Fireflies arranged themselves into pixel clusters and projected Sleepless in Seattle onto the forward moss curtain. Half the cabin sighed contentedly. Seed scones melted with romantic longing. Descent commenced. Clover Patch Airstrip was a 1-runway affair carved into a hillside of shamrocks. As they banked, Fizz checked seatbelts, plucked jam from hairdos, and folded the lone, sprouting beanstalk into elegant origami to conserve space. She reminded passengers to set devices, crystal balls, talking mirrors to flight mode. And touchdown was smoother than takeoff, though the landing gear emitted a squeal like a banshee stubbing her toe. They rolled to a stop beside a scarecrow operating the tower by semaphore. Applause erupted. The brownies detached from ceiling with satisfying pops, collected scone casualties, and vowed to write a complaint letter shaped like a muffin. Deparking began. Per policy, Fizz stationed herself at the door with a wicker basket labeled Wing Reattachment Zone. Passengers retrieved their second wings, unfolded them, and strutted down the ramp, newfound symmetry restored. Each claimed baggage, minus any item eaten by vines. The goblin with 3 monocles stopped to shake her hand, though goblin handshakes were more like complicated shadow puppets. Best flight I've had since the anti-gravity dirigible fiasco. You handled the jam offensive with aplomb. Thank you, sir. We're running a customer satisfaction survey. She produced parchment. On a scale of horrific to would sell my grandmother for another flight, how would you rate us? He ticked the second highest box. Mildly regretful, but entertained. High praise, honestly. Pastry carnage cleared, tanks refilled, and vine remnants composted. Fizz finally disembarked. She stepped onto the shamrock runway, wings unfolding fully for the first time all day. The sun dipped low, painting the sky honey orange. She inhaled exhaust-tinged air and exhaled relief. Captain Gravelgut lumbered down the steps, clipboard in hand. Great work, Thistlewing. Flight report shows 27 upsells, 14 crisis interventions, 0 fatalities, and only 1 existential meltdown due to regret bubbles. That's a record. Fizz's chest puffed. Just doing my job. When's the next leg? Gravelgut squinted at the schedule. Gotta hop to Thunderclap Reef, Storm Giants, Kelpies, Gremlins. Oh, and corporate added a fee for excess freckles. Fizz laughed so hard she nearly tumbled off the wing she was standing on. Charge per freckle? That's diabolical, even for us. Sign of the times, kid. The dwarf captain clapped her on the shoulder. Get some rest. We refuel in an hour. Fizz considered objecting, then glanced at the makeshift terminal. A thatched hut selling clover shakes and leprechaun-themed snow globes. Textbook paradise. She decided break time was non-negotiable. Inside the hut, she ordered a clover shake, employee discount applied after lengthy debate, snagged a bar stool, and let her wings unfurl like stained glass windows catching sunrise. A brownie from the flight plopped beside her, helmet under arm, mustache dripping jam. He clinked his glass to hers. To daring service professionals, he toasted. Fizz raised her shake. And to responsible pastry ownership. They drank. A small bean unnoticed at the bottom of her cup began to sprout. Tiny leaves tickled her nose. She giggled and patted the stem. Easy, little guy. No cabin ceiling to conquer here. The brownie leaned back. You ever think about working for a premium airline? Less chaos, I hear. Fizz scanned the horizon where the Bumboliner waited, sunlight glinting off its dented fuselage like a badge of honor. She thought about siege, scones, regret bubbles, airborne hurricane beans, and the applause when she carved topiary mid-slight. Premium sounded tidy, predictable, and excruciatingly dull. She smiled, feeling peanut-sized thunder in her chest, the call of adventure or caffeine, possibly both. Nah, she answered. Budget air's where the stories live. Also where the employee handbook lists improvisation under required skills, right below ability to run towards screaming. I'm good at both, the brownie chuckled. Fair point. Fizz finished her shake, left tip shaped like a heart, and stretched. The bean in her cup blossomed into a tiny white flower, releasing a scent like new chances. She tucked it behind her ear as a souvenir. A whistle blew across the runway. Refueling done, boarding would start soon. She flapped once, twice, rising into warm air. Time to earn those freckles, she said, saluting the brownie. He saluted back. May your next flight be lightly buttered. With a twirl, Fizz zoomed toward the plane. The adventure of Thunderclap Reef awaited. Storm giants, kelpies, gremlins, and a brand new snack listed in the manifest as mystery pistachios may or may not contain genies. Perfect. As the runway shrank beneath her, Fizz felt the familiar hum of possibility. Out here, wings weren't just carry-on luggage. They were proof that even in a world of fees, fines, and foibles, some things, like laughter at 30,000 feet, were gloriously overweight and blissfully exempt.